everyone, it's Holly Merking, and we are back with the Emblem Knights Chapter 4. Well, the Emblem Knights, the final draft. And we're on Chapter 4. But yeah, anyway, it's been a while for me. I know it's probably been like no time for anyone who actually has taken the time to watch. The book's been out for a while, too. Hello. Can I help you? Hello, sweet pea. My doggy wants attention. And of course my camera's blurry again. Someday I'll have a camera that doesn't blur every time I'm recording something. It'd be fabulous. But I don't even remember what happens. I think this is... Oh, this is after Ray. Yeah, this is after Ray has showed up at the home. Okay, I almost gave something away. Another time the healing has to commence. Anyway, I'm just gonna start reading before I start giving away parts of the book. Although if you've watched any of the rough draft readings, you already know what happens, so this is just a better version of it. Anyway, Chapter 4, Healing. Yuri decided to check on Ray in the morning before going out on her morning jog. He was awake already, looking out the window. He turned to look at her when she entered the room. "Do you need anything?" she asked. So bad at me. Ray smiled at her, but didn't say anything to her at first. "No, for now I would just like to lay here and relax. The music is wonderful this time of the day," he finally said to her as he leaned back and closed his eyes. "What music?" Yuri asked, looking around the room, but no one was playing anything. "Shh," he said, putting a finger to his lips. "Listen," he whispered, not opening his eyes. Yuri followed his instructions and waited. She could hear birds chirping outside. "Birds are always making those sounds." "I wouldn't exactly call that music," Yuri said after a few minutes. Ray opened his eyes and looked at her again. He pointed at the chair in the corner of his room. "Sit down," he said to her. "But I need to go for a workout before breakfast starts," Yuri said to him as she pointed towards the door. "The workout can wait for a little longer. Now sit down comma. This will only take a second," Ray insisted as he kept pointing at the chair until Yuri sat down. "Just listen to their voices and let their different sounds soothe you. It's a nice way to just take a moment and relax, making life a little better," he said to her. Yuri looked over at him, a glare in her eyes. "That's not something that I do," she said to him, crossing her arms. "If you keep going forward with that sort of attitude, you won't get too far in life," Ray said, closing his eyes once more, not caring what she was saying to him. "What, so now you and Daisuke are having secret conversations about me behind my back?" Yuri asked him, standing up in agitation. "Calm down," Ray said, opening his eyes and moving them in a calming motion. How do you move your eyes in a calming motion? "Look, I knew someone who was just like you once upon a time. It's hard on you when all you do is work yourself to the ground. Eventually, you'll wear yourself so far down that it could drive you to betray everyone you love without even meaning to." Yuri looked at him as though he had just said something completely insane. "That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I've ever heard. Wow. I'm mad at myself because this is the final draft. This friend of mine had a good family, great friends, and he had his whole life ahead of him, but one day he was tortured by the enemy. When his friends saved him, he never once mentioned that he had been tortured, and because he decided to keep it to himself, he began to believe that all his friends were out to get him." Ray looked Yuri straight into the eyes and made sure she was listening to him. "Paranoia and deception is your worst enemy. If you keep going down this path, you'll only end up hurting yourself and the people you care about the most." "Whatever you say." Yuri got out of the chair and went to the door. She turned to look back at Ray. "I'm glad you're feeling all right today." She ran into Daisuke in the hallway. "He is full of advice, and even worse than you are." "We're the same age," Daisuke said to Yuri as they passed each other. "Why are you telling me this?" Yuri asked, confused. She turned to look at Daisuke. Daisuke stopped and looked back at her. "That's how I always tell how old I am. He and his twin brother always keep track of how old they were, so whenever I couldn't figure it out, I would just ask them how old they were," he said to her. Yuri stood there and blinked at him for a moment, but then decided not to think about it. "I'm going for my workout," she said, and turned on her heel and walked out the house. "That girl is tough," Ray said from his bed when he saw Daisuke enter the room. I tried to teach her to relax, but she rejected the idea. Yeah, well, she had the rejects of our training grounds to thank for that, Daisuke said with a huff in his voice. So, when things got rough out there on the battlefield, the sissies retreated here? Ray asked with a snort. He was shaking his head with distaste. She asked about the emblem that we carry, Daisuke said to his friend. Ray winced slightly as he sat up in the bed and looked back at Daisuke. What did you tell her? He asked, sounding concerned. I said I was too tired of questions to answer. I sat in my room for a while, hoping that she would forget about it, Daisuke said, sitting down in the chair that Yuri had just been occupying. She can't know that they are the same emblems as the guards. She already thinks we're bad people. I don't want to make her think that you are scum too. It's not that big of a deal, Ray said to him. No, it is a big deal, Daisuke said back to him. You led us through hell and back, and you deserve more respect than that. Thanks, but I don't really care that she thinks that we're scum. If she can't accept that there is more than one type of emblem knight, then she's not important enough for us to care. Excuse me, Ray said to his friend and comrade. He really had been one of the best leaders a person could ask for. He also could care less what people thought of him. He just wanted to tell them how it was and move on. You don't get it, Ray, Daisuke said to his friend, standing up from his chair. All she knows about us is that we take people from their homes and destroy lives. She will never give it a proper chance if she knew we were the real deal. She's known you for some time, hasn't she? I'm sure you came back here right after the war was over, Ray pointed out. I doubt it'll take barely knowing me for a couple of years to change her mind about all knights, Daisuke argued. Ray thought about it for a moment. I see your point. But we can give her a couple of days before we tell them, he said, and then didn't care about the conversation anymore. For now, I'm just bored. Daisuke sighed, knowing his former leader had moved on. How long do you think you'll be stuck in bed? He asked him. It'll take about a week to fully recover, but I'm hoping to return to my room in a day or so. But I'm not 100% sure how fast this cut in my side will heal, Ray said with a sigh. He laid his head down in frustration. I hate being injured. Although it would seem that you were always the one to get hurt, Daisuke said with a chuckle. I need to go, though. It's my turn to cook breakfast, but I'm sure Joey's dying to play for you again, so I'll see you later. Yuri panted as she took a break from practicing. The pants she wore to work out in were soaked with sweat, but at that moment, all she could think about was Ray telling her to relax. She shook her head and stood to start practicing again. She suddenly saw the face of someone she hated and stepped back. Ugh! She sighed and sat down on the ground next to the fence of the training yard. Ray had gotten into her head and sighed again. In defeat, she couldn't help but admit that Ray had been right. She put her hands up in the air and laid her head back. She looked around and found a nice shaded tree and walked over to this tree to sit down under and relax with. She listened skeptically, but it was a little relaxing with the wind and the sounds of the birds on a nice warm day. She was at peace for the moment and was okay with not moving. She began to smell breakfast cooking from where she was sitting, and her stomach growled happily. She stood up from where she sat and went back toward the house. She felt better after resting for a little while. After a second day of sitting by the tree, Yuri went back to Ray's room. That's a new look, Ray said to her, commenting on her sweaty clothes. Have any fun new Something has definitely changed, or else you wouldn't be here again with that look on your face, Ray observed with a smile on his face. What makes you say that? Yuri asked, not making eye contact. Well, for one, it took you a whole day to come here, Ray said, sitting back. Also, you came here before breakfast even started, so something must be on your mind. Well, just because I'm here right now doesn't prove anything, Yuri argued. Ray sat up again, this time with a stern look on his face. Now stop your lying and tell me what's on your mind. I fought with my dad once, Yuri said to him. Everyone fights with their parents, Ray said to her. Well, I avoided him so much after the fight that the next time I saw him he was dead, Yuri added on. This is a new development, Ray said thoughtfully. Yuri gave him a look with her arms still crossed. I'm sorry, I was just interested that you opened up so fast. Yes, well, seeing as you were right, Yuri admitted grudgingly, I thought that you were the best to open up too. How did your father die? Ray asked, not drawing out the conversation any longer than it had to be. There was a man who claimed to be a part of the Emblem Knights that came to our restaurant. It was 2 years ago when they happily welcomed him in to eat. It was when he didn't pay his bill that things didn't go well. Yuri sighed, trying to avoid the memory. I was sitting at a table in a corner, still upset about the fight we had the day before. It all happened so fast. My father was bleeding on the floor. My mother was decapitated, all before I could blink my eyes. Yuri paused, not wanting to continue. If you need to cry, it's okay, Ray told her gently. I already cried about it, Yuri said to him. It was 2 years ago. It was hard losing your parents, Ray explained to himself. Yuri sighed. He then turned on my little brother, and I froze only for a moment. I ran for the stairs. He luckily wasn't paying attention to me. I went up the stairs and jumped on his back, trying to catch his attention. It was terrifying, but I had to protect my little brother. I knew I was going to die as soon as I let go. But I held on for dear life, hoping that something good would come from what I was doing. Yuri met Ray's eyes with a strength that he knew all too well. Continue, he said graciously. When he finally wrestled me to the ground, he took his sword out and aimed directly for my chest. I could hear my brother crying and screaming, but just as he was about to kill me, Daisuke had come to my rescue, pulling me out of harm's way and pulling his sword out to defend himself against the stranger. Yuri smiled at Ray. Can you believe it? He arrived months before, and he was already coming to the rescue. Daisuke was always the type of person that tries to come help people in need, Ray said with a smile on his face. Since then, he has always been a good friend whenever we need someone to lean on. Yuri said. She sighed, feeling lighter than she had in years. I hope this makes you happy that I'm done holding it in. Ray looked her straight in the eye. Thank you for opening up, but it's better if you do this for yourself, he informed her. I know, Yuri said. Why don't you go work off some of that newfound energy? Ray offered her. I'll see you later. See you. Yuri passed Daisuke as he entered the room. You sit, he said to his friend. Daisuke knew he was in trouble and sat down in the chair. I can't believe you broke the rules for a family you barely even know, Ray said, shaking his head. Daisuke raised his eyebrows. Oh, really? He asked, crossing his arms. And how exactly did you get those injuries? Ray chuckled at him. Can't get much past you, can I? So what did happen? Daisuke asked, still curious. These bandits were attacking a young woman and her brother, Ray answered him. Daisuke looked at him perplexed. I'm serious. I just bought that sword, and this woman and her brother were walking down the path, and these bandits were attacking them. Daisuke sat back, crossing his arms. Ray frowned shamefully. The merchant and the two siblings were working with the bandits and tried to rob me. I thankfully kept my money. However, my dignity and body were a little worse for wear. Daisuke burst out laughing. Unbelievable! He kept laughing, then Ray gave him a stern look. I'm sorry, I just can't believe that you of all people were tricked like that. I know it was a terrible thing to be tricked by them, but it had been a while since I was able to be of help to someone, Ray said grimly. Unlike you, some of us couldn't just sit back and enjoy the simple life. All of us have fought for just about as long as we have been alive. I can't figure out how to do what you do. Sorry, Daisuke said with a frown. I haven't been doing well with it. I just am good at pretending I am. Joey entered the room, ending their conversation. Can I play a song for you today, Ray? He asked timidly from the doorway. Oh, timidly. I was like excited. Maybe later, kiddo. Daisuke and I need to talk for a little bit, Ray said with a smile. Okay. I'll talk to you after breakfast, Joey said with a smile. Oh yeah, Joey said to Daisuke. Grandpa said not to worry about breakfast. He'll cook for today. Thank you, young one, Daisuke said with a nod of his head and a smile. Ray waited for Joey to leave and then decided to get out of bed. At least you broke the rules to save a great family. If only I could have been there sooner, her parents would still be here, Daisuke said, standing to go help his friend. Ray winced as he tried to stand up straight. He fell back towards the bed with his hands outstretched. There could have been no way you could have known that would have happened, Ray said to Daisuke, patting his friend on the back as he managed to get to the chair in his room with Daisuke's help. Daisuke stood back and watched his friend's face. He did it. How did that happen? Ray asked, almost falling out of his chair. He had come to me asking if he could stay with me, Daisuke frowned. I said no, and he left. I thought that was the end of it. Don't beat yourself up about it, Ray said to his friend. You did the right thing. He would have done much worse and taken you down with him. I just can't help but think about the fact that I could have made things different, Daisuke admitted. Help me up, he said, struggling to his feet. Daisuke took his hand and helped his friend back to bed. He has had problems ever since the end of the war. There was nothing you could have changed. Just remember, none of this is your fault. Daisuke sighed. Very well, he said, trying to smile. Cheer up, big guy. You did what you could, Ray said. but his face was grim, hoping that the man they were talking about wouldn't show his face again. That's the end of chapter 4. Oh! Alright. So next time it'll be chapter 5, the Emblem appears. I'm pretty sure it's obvious whose emblem appears, however. That's the end of this one. I will put in the description below a way to buy this book if you are interested. If not, that is fine too. I go ahead and record this whenever I have an opportunity. Excuse me. But yeah. Anyway, hopefully I will see you guys next time. Bye!